It's coming in right now. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our weekly video podcast thing we do. We call it Real Estate Backstory. You can find us at realestatebackstory.com. We're your hosts, Alan and Ming Richardson. We're the managing brokers at Maxwell Realty and Realtor Partners. And this morning we are blessed to have Beth Hudson and Deb Kalish with us from Luter, Larkin and Hunter. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, cool. So, Deb, you're muted.
Hi, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So, one of the things that, we love is our relationship that we have with Luter, Larkin and Hunter. And, every month, once a month, you guys join us, and we sure appreciate that. It's a treat to be able to steal a few moments from our attorneys, and so we know how crazy busy you guys are. I know that for us at the brokerage, we had our best month ever, like in the universe, kind of thing. So we had our best month, and so we're crazy busy. You guys are busy too, I'm imagining.
We are.
We are.
It's been record breaking for us too.
Well,
but congratulations to you guys.
Well, y'all too. So, one thing that we've been seeing are some issues that's been coming up about title. We've seen, and we have a lot of agents that kind of wonder how title works in Georgia. What is,
What are some of the red flags?
How do we take title in Georgia? Because, for us, where we see the problems with title is most of the time when it's not a professional real estate attorney doing the closing. That's when you guys end up having to come in and kind of save the day because, they took title the wrong way. Would you guys take just a few minutes and maybe explain title and different ways we take title in Georgia and like how to avoid some red flags and that kind of thing?
Sure. Beth, we were talking about it earlier. She's going to start.
Yeah. Well, there are two main ways to hold title in Georgia when you have multiple people on title. The default is tenants in common, which means if you have two people or more on title, each person owns 50% of the property. And if they pass away, then their interest does not automatically go to the other owner. It goes to their estate. You have to probate their estate to get it out, their 50% interest out of the estate and into their heirs or just out of their estate to a new buyer. So that's the default. And then there's joint tenants with rights or survivorship, which if that language is included on the deed, then if one passes away, then the interest automatically goes to the survivor. There's nothing you really have to do. It overrides anything that's in a will. And all you really need to do is just provide a death certificate to prove that person passed. So those are the two ways for multiple people to hold title in Georgia. And dependent on the situation and who owns the property is going to depend on how you want to set those up. So most married couples hold title as joint tenants with rights or survivorship. And that's kind of our standard for setting up deeds at closing if we know that the couple's married when they purchase property. But there are good reasons not to do that sometimes too. So it can be a really good idea to talk to your clients about how they want to hold title prior to coming to closing. A, so we can set the deed up right to begin with. And then B, I've had closings where it comes up at the closing table and it can be an awkward situation. We had a couple.
Imagine that's kind of awkward. Like, I don't want you to have the house.
Exactly. No, that really did happen. I had a closing where the agent at the closing table suggested that we add a spouse to title to be a joint tenant. They weren't on the loan, they weren't on the contract, but the agent at the table was like, "Hey, can y'all do a deed to add the spouse to title?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." It just cost just the recording charge is what we typically charge if we're doing it at the table. But there are a couple red flags to be aware of then. So in that case, the agent suggested it. I kind of thought that the lady that was signing as the buyer seemed a little uncomfortable, but she didn't say anything. So we went along with it. After everybody left the closing table, because we had both agents, sellers, buyers, everybody sitting around the table. After they all left, we got a call from the buyer saying, "I did not want to add my husband to title. we're not in a good relationship right now. Can you just not record that deed? So it can put people in an awkward situation if you bring it up at the closing table. It's better to discuss it with your clients ahead of time. If they have questions, they can call us and we can talk about it. And then, sorry, I got a call. And then that way you don't have this awkward situation at the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Problem or another situation, couple of things. One is when people go, like you said, go to either a non-real estate attorney or go and do their own deed, that they don't realize that the clerks are not going to tell them if they did it right or wrong. They're just going to record it. I just had somebody at the table recently where we were correcting a deed. I can't even remember what was wrong with it, but they had done their own quit claim. They said, well, the clerk recorded it. And they think because the clerk recorded it, it must be accurate. Like sometimes they don't put the whole legal description or, I mean,
It's not notarized correctly. That's a really common one.
Oh, I think that was what was wrong with that one. It's not right. Notarized or and then also when you add somebody to title, unless they're in the contract, or on the loan, we don't check liens and dockets against that person. That means we don't check to see if there's any liens or pending suits. And we have a disclaimer. If we add somebody at the table, we actually have a disclaimer that we haven't checked that. So if you add a spouse or a family member to title after the closing and they have a federal tax lien against them or a materialman's lien against them, it then attaches to the property. So when you go to sell it or refinance, that comes up and then it has to be paid off at the closing.
Oh, wow. Didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. So it's not just like, oh, I just want to add my spouse. There are things to think about, and the agents can, if they don't feel comfortable telling people that before the closing, they can say, well, you might want to talk to the attorney before you just come to the closing and say, oh yeah, I want to add so-and-so, because then you're stuck. You can't say, oops, I didn't mean to add them. Once they're on title, the lien attaches.
then they're there, right?
We just had that happen. We had a refinance, and that is exactly what happened. The borrower was clean, had clear title, but their spouse had been added, and they had a lien that was several $1,000s.
Now, let me ask you something. Can you take the spouse off prior to closing and take them off and quit claim?
It doesn't make the lien go away.
It doesn't make the lien go away.
Once it attaches, once they're on title, it attaches to the property and you can take them off, but the lien doesn't just go away.
Gotcha. Even the person is not on title anymore.
You're basically stuck like Chuck.
All right. That's a good point because, agents people gonna ask the same question I just asked.
And there's a lot of times there's a reason that the buyers can't be on the, shouldn't be on the loan because they maybe have bad credit or liens against them. So, I mean, like one of the reasons a lender might not want a spouse to be on the loan is because they're bad credit and their failure to pay bills. And so then adding them to title after closing, even if they're not on the loan, could have those liens attached.
Now, what about with, right now we're seeing just, what one of our largest new buying segments is the millennials. And a lot of our millennials are single.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys seeing kind of a lot more couples, unmarried couples and things like that? We've been seeing more clients that way. And so it just seems like that would lend itself to having some title challenges at times.
Yeah, I think
how they choose to take title, because you can't take it with survivorship unless you're legally married, correct?
No, you can absolutely take it with survivorship if you're married. If you're not married.
Okay.
So that language can be added on there for any co-owners, but it's definitely something to think about if you're not married, because then if you're not married, you don't go through a divorce. So if you're splitting up the property, or if somebody passes away and you're not married, it could have significant implications on whether your family is cut out or not. And something else to think about is mixed families where two spouses come, even if they're married or not married. If if two owners have children from different marriages or different partners, then it can get complicated, and you could end up cutting your kids out of, one of your biggest assets if you pass away and title isn't held the way that you want it. And the way that title's held on deeds does supersede a will. So even if you said, I want my property to go to my children in my will, if the deed's set up differently, then the deed controls over that in that situation.
Oh, wow.
Now, who does a client talk to if they need help in planning this all out and kind of, is that something that Luter, Larkin, and Hunter does as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not something that we get questioned about very often, but we're happy to talk to them about different situations, particularly if they're if you have couples that are not married, or even if they are married, if they have children from different marriages, because that's a couple of the places where we've seen some things to clean up after somebody passes away with unexpected consequences.
That can get sticky. And I think as a relationship, like you said, when you have a blended family, that you need to have these discussions prior to, so there's no confusion on the children part or the spouse. So yeah, I get it. So, but it might be good as a checklist for y'all to do a questionnaire prior to closing.
We do send out a buyer information sheet, and it asks on the buyer information sheet how they want to hold title. But that's not a super in-depth. There's no way to address every buyer situation. So we ask it up front, but hardly anybody ever questions it. They just fill it out one way or another. So for agents consulting with your clients, particularly if you know that there are blended families or non-married couples buying together, things like that, have them reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk to them about the different ways we can set it up. Because it's all a matter of the language we put in the deed. So it's easy for us to do it at closing, but it's better to figure it all out and make sure your intentions are understood before you get to the closing table.
Sure. Okay. That's great.
All right. Well, if anybody has any kind of questions, I'm going to share your information here on the screen with everybody. So, if anybody needs to get a hold of Beth or Deb, there's their email addresses, and as usual, like if you have closings coming up and you need to schedule the closings and you want, we love that Beth and Deb kind of oversee all of our files. Now you can close anywhere with Luter, Larkin, and Hunter, but still just having that go-to team is it's kind of a godsend. Plus, if you just send an email to Maximum VIP at Luter Law, guess what? They answer it. So we really kind of like that. So it's great having you guys as a valuable resource for agents. So thank you very much.
Thank y'all for letting us partner with you. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. And we're gonna kind of slide back on here, kind of thing.
Sounds good.
And if you guys have, do you guys have anything else? All right.
Nope.
I think we're good. Thank y'all for having us. Have a good week.
Yeah, happy Monday.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right. Well, we are going to kind of jump into our normal, regularly scheduled broadcast kind of thing. And so this week we have quite a few things going on in the offices this week. So on Tuesday this week, we have our grand opening for our brand new Conyers office. And so Tuesday from 11 to 1:30.
We're going to have a grand opening, and Conyers is an intersection of Highway 138 and Highway 20 behind Mill Mushroom. Most people know it as Honey Bake Hen Store Shopping Center. It's in Rockdale Square. So we would love to see all of you.
Yeah, we're giving away a 65-inch TV. We've got like $1,000 worth of gift cards that we're giving away, all kinds of cool stuff. You can have free lunch and then see our beautiful new office and
also network with some of the affiliates, because some of the affiliates have some new products, and it's good for you to network with them and just put a name with a face. And we would love to see because everybody's kind of been crammed for the last year.
We got about a dozen vendors coming out, so it's going to be a really good day. So we hope to see you. Now, also on Tuesday, we have some CE coming up. We have the Game of Credit, which is a virtual, as well as at 1:30, we have Introduction to Transaction Desk. So if you're still trying to figure out how transaction desks work, that's a really good one. On Wednesday, My Beautiful Bride.
I'm teaching licensed law. This is required every 4 year for your renewal. So if you are getting ready to renew, please make sure you have licensed law in your portfolio.
Now she's teaching it live in the McDonough office. It will
Come
be
see
virtual,
me.
but please come into the office. You know,
Come see me because we'll have sponsored for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to pimp out the breakfast always.
Yeah.
So, y'all come see me and we'll love to have your interaction.
and then on Thursday we have Know Who's Protecting Fair Housing legislation and what the laws are, and that's a virtual class kind of thing. We kind of want to start off this morning, maybe not start off, or jump into talking about pricing. You know, right now we've seen where it's been a seller's market, and it's been an accelerating seller's market. But that being said, excuse me, we still see a lot of, especially a lot of our seller clients, they kind of have that FOMO fear of missing out.
Mhm.
And they want to kind of go in and they're putting out this almost make me move pricing. And that's not really healthy or smart or a good way for us to really
Right.
be, kind of thing. When you overprice a property, even in this market, that's not a win-win scenario. First of all, a lot of times it doesn't work. Now, have we seen instances where it does work? Sometimes it does.
It does. It just depends on the school district and what extra feature the house may have.
Yeah, but we normally see where overpriced properties ends up having to take a discount.
Mhm.
We see that more than anything, you know, because it sits on there. The sellers start to get anxious, and then they start knocking it down, kind of thing. Because, you know, once that property's been on the market for a couple of weeks, people are starting like, what's wrong?
with that?
Why is this one gone? That kind of stuff. So, you know, really what we're saying is that the best bet is to set a reasonable price and let the market push or adjust it as would be. So pull your CMAs, truly work, you know, like do your due diligence, see what comparable properties are, and then take really great photos, market it everywhere. We like to list our properties on Wednesday. We list them on Wednesday, but we don't allow showings until Friday.
You can block that out, just so
yeah.
you know.
And so that way we kind of build up, give agents, we see the most of the showings start on that first weekend, kind of thing. And so they give the market enough time to start getting ready for it. And I'm not saying you limit it to one weekend. That's not what I mean, but that's how we normally start it. And then we'll kind of push that and build up some momentum with that. But we try and price property either right at or even slightly a little bit below the market, and then let the market dictate where that price is going to go. We have seen where some instances where, like, I'm not a huge fan of coming soon, but we have seen where coming soon can be used with your clients to help talk them off the ledge. So meaning, you know, we've had some instances where some of our agents have taken and put a property in under coming soon at the high price for the listing that the sellers wanted, and then, you know, base that, and then depending on what kind of feedback and phone calls that the agent's getting from other agents, because they can't be showing the property, that's against the rules. That's not what I mean. You can't put it out there, but you can gauge what kind of interest you're getting from other agents that are inquiring about the property that's coming soon and that kind of thing. So that also works. You know, another issue that we see happening a lot is a lot of our sellers want to know about iBuyers. And so, you know, we also recommend that you bring up iBuyers in your pricing discussion with your sellers here.
And just remember, Zillows, Open Door, iBuyers, they're what we call investors. Investors are there to make money. They're not to give your client the best money. Now, I have seen instances lately where an agent will put a house coming soon, and they have a blind offer prior to coming soon. Now, I have seen where seller have accepted an offer prior to. And what I recommend, and this is a unique situation because a seller worked in a judicial arena and they didn't like the fact that their house is going to be exposed to multiple traffic. So they took the offer while it was incoming soon, a blind offer. But if you're going to do that, please make amendment to your buyer brokerage, your seller brokerage agreement to ensure that all parties acknowledge. Listing agreement is seller.
Okay.
It's seller, or listing brokerage agreement. It's funny, we changed the turn of seller, but we have not changed the turn of the paperwork. So anyways, make sure you put a amendment to reflect that so you're not in violation of fair housing.
That's it. All right. We want to jump back into sharing our screen here because we want you guys to see what's going on. So I keep getting tricked again because I keep saying mortgage rates are going up, and now mortgage rates went down again. Now, that being said, mortgage rates did drop to 2.9 this past week, and a lot of it is due to a lot of investors feel that the Fed is going to continue to wait and hold off, that kind of stuff. They're seeing a little bit of easing on some different fiscal numbers, that kind of stuff. But on the negative side, mortgage applications dropped for the second week in a row. Purchase apps were down 1% for the week and 14% below last year. This is like we've not seen purchase applications down this level all year long. And so now on one hand, we are starting to see historical norms fall in. Now, when we say purchase apps were down for 1% for the week and 14% last year, you got to understand that last year we didn't have that normal drop off coming. Normally people have, I know that we're in the summer buying season, but most folks have already started moving into the buying season. So this is a normal tapering down that we traditionally have. If you compare us to 2019, we're much closer and we're following those same trends. With that being said, it does, we are starting to see some signs of the market kind of cooling just a hair, and we'll go over those in just a minute. First, we want to talk about foreclosures, and so right now there's about 2.7 million homeowners that are behind on their mortgage payments, and about 1.8 million are really behind, kind of thing. But of those, already about 15% of those homeowners have already exited their forbearance plans without a workout plan, meaning they were just taking forbearance while they could really get it.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of folks who are like, what about all the foreclosures? What about all the foreclosures? Well, here's the deal. If 1/3 of all these foreclosures end up hitting the market, that's in the nation, that's going to be around $133,000 homes, which will add 8 days of supply. Okay, I know that right now our average days on market is about is somewhere in the 15 to 30 range, depending on where we are. Overall, our average days on market is 35 days less than it was a year ago. So even if 1/3 of all these foreclosures come out, that's only adding 8 days worth of supply to our nationwide housing market. Well, could that ease a couple of things? It
Absolutely.
could, but really what we're looking at is most homeowners are going to exit with a forbearance plan. The banks don't want to foreclose. Foreclosure is way expensive and a big pain.
Not only that, if you think about most of these homes have much higher interest rate than the interest rate today. So what is in for the bank? But in foreclose, just to get another loan at much lower.
The other thing is that most of these homes, the like 70-something% of these homes are positive equity. They can sell and make money. So they may not want to sell because they'd have the same challenge anybody else would. Where are you moving to? Kind of thing.
Homeless. But just a sidebar note, just so you know, for agents, we just had a case came online. We had a seller thought his payoff is this, but when he did forbearance, he didn't realize there's another about $15,000 added to his loan in the back end due to forbearance. So guess what? He thought he was break even and move, but now he has to stay.
Yeah. Now, our FHA and VA buyers are definitely not feeling any love in this market right here. And there was a survey out, and it says 89% of sellers are more likely to accept an offer from a buyer with conventional financing, but only 30% would be willing to accept one from FHA or VA, kind of thing. And now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it kind of is. Sellers believe FHA and VA loans tend to have lower appraisals and are slower to close with more restrictions. I'm not saying that's always the case, but you can't argue with me and say no one believes that. Okay, and so we've seen that's falling over into the actual numbers for FHA. The share of FHA insured homes dropped to 14% of total mortgages. In past years, FHA ran about 20% of the mortgage. Right now it's down to 14%. And so a 6% drop in the last year is a significant drop in FHA. So HUD and Housing and Urban Development is proposing changes to how FHA and VA does their appraisals. And so we don't know that this is going to pass yet, but we'd really like to see that. That, in my opinion, that would help to remove that stigma that a lot of our FHA and VA buyers have, and it levels the playing field. That's really the big thing for us, is that, we want to bring in more FHA and VA buyers. One, I want to take care of the veterans, and two, I want to bring more first-time buyers in and that kind of stuff.
Give all the buyer an opportunity to purchase a
Yeah.
home versus just cash. And this is why Ribbon, Divvy, and Home Partners America are very popular right now, because they're basically become a temporary short-term third-party financing company and get a huge return on their investment.
But we're seeing where FHA and VA buyers are the ones who are having to take and spend that additional money to do that. And so if the playing field was level, we really are big proponents of this. On what I feel is personally kind of a negative is ARMs are back.
Right.
Adjustable rate mortgages have kind of had a comeback. Right now, ARMs are 12.5% up more than they have been in the past. And so that's one of those things that scares the old man here. I'm not a big fan of ARMs. We saw that, adjustable rate mortgages, we know there's no way that we're going to keep these 2.9, 2.8% rates. And so there's going to be a reset. And if people are, and yes, an ARM can let someone get in at a lower interest rate to begin with, but when that reset comes, it comes and it is painful. And that's where we see where, if you were here in the past, like in 2006, 2007, 2008, the folks who had those adjustable rate mortgages, well, they took it more than on the chin. Okay. And so so those scare me. I know that that's a product that's available and there for people in a certain time of their life, but it does kind of worry me just a touch, kind of thing.
Well, ARM is in place for a short term. It's not really in place for long term. So if you do know that you're going to have a status change or income increase, then that's not an issue. But if you're barely making it, ARM is a for sure way of, no offense, foreclosure down the road.
Yeah. Commercial mortgage-backed securities, basically the secondary mortgage market for commercial properties, is coming back into pre-pandemic levels for kind of the first time now, since the pandemic. And so we are really seeing where, across the board, apartment, office, retail is still lagging behind a little bit, but everything is moving pretty much in the right way, with the exception of office. Office is still kind of having a few challenges. People don't know how return to work is going to be, but still we're seeing a lot of strength on the commercial side as well.
Right. And I can tell you, a lot of your major corporations are now calling their employee back to their buildings. So don't be surprised, and pray that you didn't move during pandemic thinking that you weren't going back to the office.
Yep. Initial jobless claims this week were at
Wow.
373,000. Now, if you want to know how well the economy is doing, 3 months ago, this number was double. So we know that that's a big deal, and that's continuing to help drive our economic improvement right now. So National Housing Survey came out, and they said, is it a good time to buy or is it a good time to sell? And so what this graph basically shows is that, consumers out there believe that it is a good time to buy, a good time to sell and not really buy. So 77% of folks asked that it's a good time to sell, and only 32% of folks said it's a good time to buy.
64% is holding off because they think the market is in a bubble, or they think a market is not where they need to be.
Well, and it's mainly due to price.
Well, and it is. And honestly, they're waiting for the market to flatten out before they go out there. And that's what they're hoping. They're hoping about and I will tell you, I have seen a little bit not flattening. It's not a good word, but I have seen a little decrease on the uprising of price.
Well, and we have too, and we're going to talk about that next. It's a good segue kind of thing. So let's talk about real estate by the numbers here kind of thing. Our active listing count. So, what is in the bright yellow, that is, this year kind of thing. And so we can see that our active listing count is still down overall compared to previous years. However, if you look at newly listed homes, the yellow line here showing, we're actually showing an improvement kind of thing. And so you can see where the historical trends have been going on when we normally list homes. Like we just talked about, you know, how normally mortgage applications start to decline. You can kind of see this trend running through here. And then you can see what last year's trend really did to it. Last year was all, you know,
took a dive.
Yeah, it was all cattywampus kind of thing. And so, but now we actually have more new listed homes than we did this time last year. We're not back to where we were in 2019, but we are starting to see some signs that it's improving. So, you know, other signs that we're seeing is, you know, days on market. We still have ridiculously low days on market. And so you can kind of see how many fewer days on market we have than we have in past years. Last year, when the green line for 2020, you can see that's when we jumped up during the shutdown, and then it's been working its way down ever since. And so we are at our lowest days on market still ever right now. So is the market going away? No. Is it changing?
Yes.
Yes, but it's not going to be a reversal or anything like that. So our days on market fell to a record low of 15 days. And that's for a four-week out average.
How many days do you need to be in order to be a break even, Alan?
What do you mean?
Inventory.
Oh, we need 6 months of standing inventory, and we're at 15 days. So you can see we have way more demand than we have supply for. Now, at the same time, our listing price is still rising. Now, it's hard to see, but it is rising at a less intense rate than it has been in the past.
It's less
so,
climb.
You know, are we going to see this taper off and drop?
No, I don't think so. I think it will, if not anything, very small increases.
We still have too much demand for that to happen. So overall, home sale prices are up 22% over last year, and that is numbers that is not sustainable. You can see where we fall in on that. 54% of our pending sales go into contract within 2 weeks. So that's another metric that we as listing agents need to be remembering, that if if you're on the market more than 2 weeks,
there's an issue.
There's price. It's price kind of thing.
Well, price for the condition and location of the property.
Right. But at the end of the day, it's always about price.
Yes.
So at the same time, over half of our homes, 55% of homes sold above list price, not at list price, above list price kind of thing.
And you know, prior pandemic, that never ever happened.
It was rare.
We never reach 100%. Now we're above.
Actually, we're at 102%.
Right.
And so you can see that this is for the last 3 years, kind of our list price ratio. And so you can see through, you know, in 2019, you know, we were running in the 98% range of list to sale price. And then once the pandemic hit, we actually moved into the 97, and then now we're at 102.4% of our list to sale price ratio. So that shows that there's still a ton of demand out there. Now, here is a kind of encouraging one, and that is this is 4% of our listings had price drops. Well, maybe encouraging is not the right word. Let me back up. In my opinion, this shows that we have too many people overpricing property. And so you can see where the trend has been running. And then here lately, you know, as we've seen price increases and we've seen more and more sellers kind of getting aggressive with their price, we've seen where we're having to have more listings take price considerations.
Well, not only that, is a little bit encouraging because I'm also seeing some that are giving concessions, whereas it has been a long time, 0 concessions.
So overall, we have a market that is a few degrees cooler. So if you look at our leading demand indicators, so the Mortgage Bankers Association Purchase Index, This is Redfin's demand index, and as well as their pending sales indicators. You can see that overall our market really is starting. I'm not going to say it's cooling, and I mean I did say it's cooling.
Cooling in the price
compared to where it was.
Right.
What we don't want to paint this picture that the market's going down, because it's not.
It's not.
Okay, but is it going to stay the nutty seller takes all, buyers have to take scraps kind of market? I don't think that. I think that's where we're moving
and
away
I think
from.
what you guys will find out too recently, that instead of having 56 offer in one weekend, you may look at around 20, 25. So
and then that's
the
going to taper to
offer,
15
right,
until it starts getting a little bit back
the
to
offer
normal kind of thing.
is, you know, because the buyer pool is going to look at the property and say, this is not worth it, or it's beyond my range.
So overall, there's still a lot of pent up demand. You know, pending sales right now are up 17% from 2020, which is a really good sign. It shows that there is still a lot of demand for housing out there. We're not looking at this thing slowing down, you know, but we are looking at it kind of moderating a little bit. For the overall in the Atlanta market kind of right now, our median price is $395,000. Yeah, I can remember when it was in the mid threes kind of thing. Our median list price is 14% year over year. However, our active listings are down 52%. On the positive side, our new listings are at 3.3% more than last year, and our median days on market are 33. And so right now, that's 20 days less than it was a year ago. And so you can see if you add that forbearance to it, that only takes us to 41 days on market kind of thing, and that's still ridiculously low. So we got some good, you know, Atlanta and Georgia ranked out some really nicely in a couple of surveys that came out.
The singles
So
were number 3.
Atlanta is rated the 3rd best city for singles. Okay, and that's based on average wages after tax, median rent for a 1-bedroom apartment, and well as rec facilities and that kind of stuff. So that's a good thing for single folks coming into Atlanta. I like to keep up with how we rank compared to other cities and that kind of stuff. And what's the top state for retirement?
Georgia.
I figured it would have been Florida, and Florida almost inched us out, but Georgia actually is the #1 state for retirement in the United States. And you know, and they did that based on affordability, wellness, culture, weather, and crime. And so you can see where we rank, but overall, Georgia's #1,
Yay.
kind of thing. At the same time, they also a new survey came out, and it said it listed the cities that benefited most from pandemic relocations. And Georgia comes in, or Atlanta comes in at number 12. Atlanta is the 12th best city, and probably one of the larger ones, kind of thing, on the number of people that have moved. You know, almost 20% of people moved into Atlanta since 2017. And so those are all good things and good economic indicators of how Atlanta and Georgia is faring. And just to kind of, you know, stay optimistic about, hey, this is how we rank compared to the rest of the nation in a lot of things. And so housing market in Atlanta and Georgia, we're in good shape here, kind of thing. There was a new study that said 94% of our listings don't include a virtual tour. Now, you know, Ming and I, we have a little disagreement here, because a virtual tour, in my opinion, is truly a virtual tour where you go walking through, and she's like, I got pictures that move, and that's not a virtual tour. Okay.
Hey, you know,
all right. Well, I'm just like that. That's cheating. And now I know that we all use that kind of thing, but you know, if you look at what do our buyers really want, kind of thing, they really do want true virtual tours, kind of thing. You know, 58% say they want to see virtual tours, and they want to see floor plans. So few of our listings have floor plans.
right.
Only about 16% nationwide. And here in Georgia, in Atlanta especially, it's like 0.2% kind of thing. I mean, you never see. I mean, it's very rare to see listings with floor plans and with true virtual tours. So if you're trying to be a listing agent that really is trying to stand out and show how you can better expose your client's property to the marketplace, do virtual tours. Seriously, just walk through the house with your camera on and narrate through a virtual tour of the property. Buyers love that, and they will look at it and view it, and then look at putting in, you know, floor plans and that kind of stuff. Oregon has been the first state to come out and ban buyer love letters.
Ouch.
And so, for us, it's one of those things that, and being real honest, I'm just going to share my soul. Back in the day, we did love letters, and we didn't think that much about it. And now, when we really look at love letters, and the reason Oregon has banned it, and the reason we don't like love letters is because I have yet to find a really good love letter that doesn't violate fair housing. And because it's really hard to write a buyer love letter without talking or showing
The personal side of it.
that you are a protected, and speaking about a protected class. If you say my family and I, well, familiar
That's familiar
status is it's a violation of fair housing kind of thing, or my spouse or my partner or that kind of stuff. And
Or I'm a vet, with disabilities, stuff like that, that's, your door, whatever, your bar towel in the bathroom fits my need, whatever it is. All these violate fair housing, unfortunately. And yes, there are sellers out there that would, like this love letter because they are very proud and they care for their home. It's been their home for years, and they want to hand it down to someone that's going to care for it as well.
Well, a lot of our sellers, care about their neighbors and that kind of stuff. They don't want some jerk moving into Bill and Ted, Bill and Jean's next to their neighbors kind of thing. But the bottom line is that
Or Bill and Ted.
Or Bill and Ted, I don't care. But we have to be very careful that we're protecting the public and that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that we are the beacons of fair housing in the industry. So seeing that Oregon is banning it, I don't think Oregon will be the last state to do this. I do think we're going to see this happening more and more, simply because so many love letters do violate fair housing. If you're doing one, please, I challenge you to either not do them, or if you're going to do them, they have to be so generic, in my opinion, that they're almost
What's the point?
not. I mean, if you have one that works, does not violate fair housing, let me see it, because I haven't seen those so far, kind of thing.
So, anyways, stop doing love letters.
Yeah,
that's our suggestion.
Yeah, please. All right, I want to talk about 7 home improvements that actually decrease your home's value.
That's
so
hard to imagine.
Well, it is, except for a lot of times we see our sellers and we see, our friends just do dumb bonehead things, kind of thing. And so we just kind of run through a list of things that you want to make sure you encourage your clients not to do. First one, do not turn a bedroom into a closet. I know, ladies, you love shoes. You like to have everything organized, that kind of stuff. But we've seen where we've had clients actually turned an entire 3rd bedroom into a master closet, busted through their closet door, made their closet a doorway, and created a whole that. Guess what you just did?
You minimize your living space.
We see the same thing sometimes when clients will combine bedrooms. They'll make a master and a secondary bedroom into one large master. Guess what? You just hurt the value of your home, kind of thing. Next thing that you do is if you do any kind of permanent customization, like if you've ever walked in that house and you saw that huge brick fireplace from like the 70s that like someone went in and like hand put the stucco in there, kind of thing, and it just looks horrendous. That did not help your values. Okay, that's the other way around.
Next is Nickelodeon houses, where you have bold, beautiful color paints.
Well, bold colors, and when you paint your house for you, that's one thing. But when you're painting it to sell, it needs to be neutral, because the first thing that bold colors, when a buyer walks in the house with bold colors, they're like, "Oh my Lord, I gotta paint this sucker," kind of thing. We had we had some friends of ours, huge Clemson fans, so everything in the house was orange, like bright orange. Yeah. So the next one is not to maintain your home's architectural style. So if you've ever been into whether a cute little ranch or whatever it may be, and you walk in and the style inside doesn't match the house whatsoever, it just screws with people's heads, kind of thing. They can't. That hurts your value.
Like a ranch home, very traditional ranch home, and when you go in there, there's all these beams and all these wood,
Contemporary, that kind of stuff. You just,
it just
yeah.
doesn't match. And lower ceilings, y'all.
Don't
We're
lower
kind
ceilings.
of tall, so I'm short. I can admit that.
There was
But-
a push for this when utility costs really high, and we saw where folks were trying to lower ceilings. But lower ceilings hurts your value.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no
Matter of
no
fact,
good
it
business.
makes a house look small.
Yep.
It makes the room look really small.
So last
and-
thing,
Don't do cheap material.
don't do crappy stuff. Basically,
Okay.
kind of thing. Cheap materials goes
When you
know,
have all these beautiful renovation, you want to cut corner on the last bit of it, I can tell you it's going to reflect the quality of craftsmanship.
And then kind of an honorable mention one, like
Ooh.
normally pool is not a good thing. I know that now since the pandemic, a pool has been a really good return on investment. But
Mhm.
historically speaking, pools are not a great way to be when it comes to increasing your home's value. Most of the time, they're going to cost way more than the value you get for it. If you're going to do a pool, it's because of that. But you also a lot
It's
of
for
times
your own personal enjoyment.
you also will limit the number of buyers that will be willing to look at your home with a pool. And we have seen a shift with COVID. So I want to talk really quickly about the Mike Delpreet. He's a real estate industry kind of tactician. He's a numbers guy, and he does some really cool stuff. And he shared his 2021 Emerging Models in Real Estate report. And I went through there, and I like I said, I really like his information. But what came across to me was I want to talk about the future of real estate. And we hear how folks have been like, tech is coming in. We have all these disruptors, and are we going to be disrupted right out of business, or are we going to evolve?
Right.
And so he had an interesting take, and I kind of want to share this with you real quick as we wrap up. And so the first one is that for the average American, we have what's called loss aversion. It means that Americans basically are risk averse, and will avoid taking risks, especially in big transactions. So when you take that into account, and then you start looking at when you take something where the cost of the mistake is low, but you do it a lot. So low value, high frequency, low value transactions, we find that consumers are willing to take the risk. So when you start looking at Airbnb, Uber, Netflix, these are something that you do a lot. I mean, of course,
It's
how
high
often we do that?
frequency, but the risk on that is very low.
Right. Now, when you start looking at those kind of transactions that have much higher value and that we do less often, like investment banking, where you go to college, are you going to purchase a car? Are you going to get divorced? And I know that that's not a pleasant thing to talk about, but when you think about that, and I want you to think about like I'm going to make an investment banking decision. Do you just kind of shoot off the hip and be like, let's throw 20 grand at this, or 100 grand, or whatever kind of thing? When you got ready to choose where you went to college, was that something that you're like, doesn't matter, kind of thing? Or purchasing a car, or hopefully you didn't have that kind of attitude with the divorce kind of thing. And so, when you look at these kind of transactions, consumers often seek out expert guidance to carry them through the process. Now, what are people's largest and least frequent transaction they do? Real estate, housing, real estate,
Right.
And so when you look at for the average American, what has more value for them? Their house. And how many times is the average American going to sell a home? 3-4 times in their lifetime, probably, something like that. So, this idea that this is something that's very high value, we're not going to do it very often. And so when you start looking at how does that work with the disruptors, basically these low value, high frequency
They're
transactions,
easier to disrupt.
much easier to disrupt. How easy has it been for our disruptors to be able to kind of break into our marketplace? And there are a lot of people in our marketplace, But if you really want to look at it, more people sell with a real estate professional today than at any point in history. Like if you go back in,
Even though we have a lot of disruptor out there.
Yeah, we have
right
all these
now. I mean, your
disruptors.
iBuyers, your Zillows, your Open Doors, they're all about efficiency and not looking at the
Right.
relationship and the human side of it.
But they take up a lot of oxygen, like back in the 80s and even 90s, for sale by owner accounted between 10 and 12% of our market. For sale by owner is only down is between 4 and 5% of our market, and iBuyer is somewhere in that 2 to 3% of our market. So more buyers and sellers are using real estate agents today than they have throughout forever.
So
Thing.
it's
So-
a great time to educate your client. Y'all start doing, not start, but I hope you've been doing online, virtual, if not in person, first time home buyer seminar. I know we always concentrate on buyer, but think about maybe do one for listing. That
Mhm.
way you can start build your portfolio as well.
Yep. All right. Well, we ran a little bit long today, so sorry if we bored you. But we hope we didn't lose you, kind of thing. And so, if you need some more me time, we always hang out at max1.rocks/chat afterwards. So if you need to chat with us, so we are here. We hope that you guys have a really great week. We appreciate you. We love you. Y'all have a great week.
Happy Monday. Thanks.
Bye. And we are off like a prompter.